Good evening, my friends. This is Sandy Shallis, and after a tough week, this is my entertainment. This is my hobby, and I'm here for you because this week has been the COP25, Council of the Parties, UN, Madrid. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I've been trying to follow the different sources of information from We Don't Have Time and UPFSI, Scientist Warning, Paul Beckwith, lots of places. And good evening, everybody. I was not, hi, your environment, Seattle. I was not climate striking today. Um, I was climate striking at home. So I'm not going to do a lot of saying hello because I have a lot. I have a lot of stuff to go over. And I've got videos and all kinds of things. So I want to make sure that this goes off without a hitch. So can we get started? All right, we're going to get started. So the Heritage Institute. Not the Heritage, the Heartland Institute. The Heartland Institute is a think tank, primarily funded by what you would say right-wing Koch brothers, that kind of thing, fossil fuel industry, even though they want to fight about that. They are a nonprofit. In fact, I have their 990. I was looking at their 2017 990 and their board and the people and how much they get paid and what they do. And right now, they are in Madrid, but they are having their own meeting. And last year, I think it was last year or the year before, when they did the same thing, they had maybe, I guess they expected 300 or 400 people to come, and I think 100 people came. When you listen to their videos, you can tell there's like sparse clapping, but they are a force to be reckoned with because they really do house a lot of the climate change denying people. And they call themselves climate reality. And there's a lot of websites that fool people into thinking they're going to go and learn, and they're really getting propagandized, even though they call us climate alarmists. So I'm going to start with a clip from one of the people that is with the Heartland Institute. And I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be interesting. So let's get started and let's hope this all works out well. Okay, so here we go. This is Tucker Carlson. Let's go.
It's a world war against climate change. The single largest polluter, emitter of CO2 by far is China. So we should be at war with China, and yet these are the apologists for China. This doesn't make any sense to me, Justin Haskins. Try to unravel it if you would.
Yeah, no, it makes absolutely no sense. John Kerry said that they need to mobilize an army. Mobilize an army. Well, here's what you could do with that army, John Kerry. Invade China. Yeah. Invade India, because those are the people who are producing significantly more CO2 emissions than we are here in the United States.
I
don't believe that human CO2 emissions are causing a
They
climate
twist
crisis. No, of course not.
So they're for declaring war on ourselves, but they're not for declaring war on the people who are causing this crisis.
Absolutely. They would do anything for political power, which is what this is all about. This has nothing to do with saving the planet from a climate crisis, because they know that even if you believe that CO2 emissions are causing that, and I don't believe that it is, but even if you believe that, they know that there's nothing we can do here in the United States. Absolutely nothing. Nothing that Europe can do. Absolutely nothing. It is all in the hands of China and India and countries like that, and yet you never hear John Kerry speak a word about that. It's all about what the United States has to do. He wants us to commit economic suicide in order for him to have more political power. Ultimately, that's what this is all about.
It's interesting. You saw Mike Bloomberg in tape that we played earlier in the show make excuses for the fact that China is building new coal-powered power plants. But that's
all
okay
right,
with Mike.
I'm going to stop that one. So basically that one, you get the drift. This guy is, he's with the Heritage And oh, I keep saying heritage, that you know that you can mix them both up. He is with the Heartland Institute, and he's one of those lackeys that comes on Fox all the time, and they twist they twist the words. There's this initiative. I didn't have a lot of time to look up that initiative with John Kerry, and they got to do something, and that's not my point. My point is they're saying, they're twisting going to war. They're twisting, and what they're doing is they're scapegoating, of course, other countries and never mentioning the United States. They don't talk about the uh, rollback um, uh, of what, 89 regulations by the United States for anything. They don't do those things. So they're just going to perpetuate this, but it's dangerous. And we know it's dangerous. And there's a large part of the world population that is subscribing to this climate reality. And with words like this, they say that we are now in CO2 famine level. This is William Happer, and I'm going to be showing you a video of William Happer. He says Earth has never been to low levels like we are now with CO2, only in the Permian. The only real effect is the Earth is greening. CO2 is causing a better use of water. And if there is more CO2 in the air, plants can live in drier regions than they could before, because they talk about the greening effect. So they're trying to minimize the fact that all the ice is melting, and they're calling it the greening effect, because they completely deny the effects of what is going to transpire, what is transpiring from the ice melt. And he actually said agriculture and crop yields are going up, and CO2 is not an emergency. So here we go. We're going to go to this dude. Let me see. I'm going to find him, and we are going to watch this guy. This ought to be fun. So here we go. William Happer. And then we'll do a little background on him. You are not going to believe it. Look at what this says. Real air pollution in Shanghai. And I'm not going to read it to you because he's going to say it.
Well, now let's come back to what we're really talking about. And what we're really talking about is pollution. And nobody wants a polluted world. We want to live in a clean world. This is a picture of Shanghai. Barbara and I have been there on days like this, and it really does look like this. You can barely see the bottle opener building there. And the reason for this pollution, however, is not carbon dioxide. It's not methane. You can't see those gases.
You can't see them.
Pollution like this should not exist. One should do everything possible to stop it, but there's been pollution like this in China for centuries. Marco Polo remarked about this when he visited China. And the problem with parts of China is it's downwind from the Gobi Desert. And with the right sorts of winds in the spring, there is Gobi Desert dust all over China, including Japan. So there's not a lot that can be done about that. That's going to continue. That's why there's these huge loess districts in China. But we don't want that. We're not in favor of this picture. But CO2 is not part of that picture. CO2 is completely invisible. As Goose mentioned earlier, CO2 is the stuff of life. We're made of carbon. We exhale carbon. We're busy polluting the world in this room simply by breathing out. And I like to point out that our own breath doesn't differ that much from the composition of power plant exhaust. It's mostly the nitrogen that we breathe in. Not much happens to that. there's more oxygen in our breath, but there's oxygen left in a power plant too, because it's normally run a little bit oxygen rich. And then there's water and CO2, so exactly the same components.
So this dude is comparing our breath. He's comparing our breath with power plants, and that is something else, isn't it? He really is. His name is William. Let's get this up. His name is William. Here we go. Here's William Happer. Now, William Happer, who was just giving us that amazing little clip there on how he's like got a PhD in physics, all right? But he was the Trump administration's national security senior director for emerging technology, yada, 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 Cato, you know, all the right-wing think tanks. And he's gotten fossil fuel funding. And he says, but he's got, the reason why I picked him is because he's got some of the most ludicrous to me, to us, claims. Since the year, man's role is minimal, you know, burning exhaust and jet fuel and all that. You know, carbon, coal, burning coal, everything is just minimal. Since the year 1800, the Earth has warmed by about 1 degree Celsius. Some fraction of the warming is due to more atmospheric CO2 from burning fossil fuels, but most of the warming is probably due to the same natural forces that have always controlled the Earth's changeable climate. So this dude he's reading the same mantra that they all do. Anthony Watts, you know, all of them. They call alleged climate change was invented by paranoid scientists, you know, okay, there we go. And it is a completely imaginary threat that doesn't exist, you know? So they don't even take into consideration, they don't talk about the extreme weather, at least in the videos I watched, because there is no extreme weather. He says, it's not as though if you double CO2, you make a big difference. You make a barely detectable difference. And he says the 97% consensus is phony. So he is definitely a shill. He definitely is a shill. And let's see if I can find one more lovely, you know, this is the one that always gets me. Almost all plants grow better and are more drought resistant with 2 or 3 more, times CO2. So I would like to know if anybody wants to back up their vehicles to their plants and see what happens. You know, I don't know. You know, I mean, why do plants grow on city streets, right? So these guys would say it's because it's good for them. It's great for them. It really gets to be a drag to listen to these people. You know, it's like they've just ignored bushfires. They've ignored what happened in Puerto Rico, what happened in Houston. They've ignored droughts. They say there are no droughts. They don't talk about the actual crop failure in the Midwest. They don't talk about the flooding in the United States and all over the world. They don't do that, at least from what I've watched. 5 hours of it. They were, you know, in Madrid doing their little own COP. They don't talk about the Solomon Islands, which are making plans because of sea level rise already that's happening there. They don't talk about the fires in California. They don't talk about the Australian bush. They, at least from what I saw, they're going to deny. They're going to tell us that we are propagandists, that we are making people hysterical. And I think it's pretty dangerous, actually. I really do. The Heartland Institute is, let's go for this. I'm sure we're going to just refresh ourselves on the Heartland Institute. And they are a free market think tank. They're pretty much libertarian. It was founded in 1984. they've done a lot of, well, I don't know if they've done damage, but they've done a lot of, well, politicizing. They say it's a politicized thing on our side, and it's sad to have to take sides. And they say they've got the science with them. They don't have the science with them. They don't. They really don't. They don't. And they had worked with the tobacco industry, and they to question the science linking the secondhand smoke to health risks, which everybody knows. Then they had this president, his name is Tim Hulskamp. I think he's currently the president, and I'm going to go over their little 901 form for their 501c3. He's a beaut, chairman of the Tea Party caucus and a member of the far right Freedom House caucus. So you really get an idea of who the Heartland Institute is, and the kind of money that this guy from Koch Industries, and the kind of money he's taken through his career. They're just dirty. They really are. And Germany does have Heartland Institute connections, because I watched a so-called German scientist. I don't even know if he was a scientist today as part of that. Well, it was the last couple of days as part of this. Their rebuttal, their reaction to COP, which has so many more people, and even if they flew, so many more people than this. But these people have pockets and they have mouths. So they are a 501c3, and they have an annual budget. Well, it says here about $6 million, right? $6 million. And I want to show you this is what's called their 990 form. 990 form is when 501c3s, they have to submit a 990 in the United States and show what their key people make and what they do. Well, I was looking at this and I saw that Hulskamp makes $105,000 a year out of this thing, but Diane Bast is an employee. She makes $110,000 because she's the wife of the guy that used to be there, used to be in the president and CEO. So she's still there. I think maybe you might remember this one. This was the brilliant one that brought us the I still believe in global warming, do you? And it showed the dude, Ted Kaczynski, okay? They did this one. She wrote back in 2013. Do you remember this, when they were sending all this crap to science teachers? And she said, you have an important decision to make, she says to science teachers in the US in 2013. Will you tell your students that the science is settled on global warming, as the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is? So they've got their own. And then they had that poster, and it was pretty, it was fear tactics. It was trying to sway a gullible United States population, unfortunately, as much as it is. But she was the wife of Heartland President Joseph Bast. So it's like a little all in the family thing over there too. But they definitely, see the report, she was talking about the IPCC. They have their own NIPCC. NIPCC, it's like national. They put stuck national in front of it. And they cite thousands of articles appearing in peer-reviewed science journals, but it's bull, okay? The report is anything but. Australian astrophysicist Dr. Michael Brown of Monash University in Melbourne described it succinctly as partisan pseudoscience. So they really are, they're shit. Sorry. But pretty scary, because so many people, any one of their videos, they get a lot, of views. And it's probably, Trump's base, their echo chamber of people. And I was looking at this media bias fact check about them and propaganda, numerous failed fact checks. Oh, they don't show their financials anymore publicly. I don't know if that's against the rules. But the Union of Concerned Scientists, they have said that Heartland, let me get this up here. I got to move you a little bit. Heartland has been criticized by some scientific organizations, such as the Union of Concerned Scientists, who said Heartland has a long history of intentionally trying to confuse the public on behalf of corporate sponsors. And they responded saying, that is absolutely false. We never compromised our principles. What principles? Principles underlined by fossil fuels. They think coal is good. They say, oh, CO2. No, one of their things is plants like CO2 and they love coal. Plants love coal. Literally, they said this. I shit you not. So their primary mission is to advocate for corporations because they're libertarian front, and minimal regulations. They have advocated, we already talked about the smoking, but they are a leading supporter in human influence climate change denial. And they have made a lot of false and misleading claims. So research there. The research is definitely there. So it's been interesting. I still have a couple more video clips for you guys. I see that there's a pretty good conversation going on. And hi, Diane Russell. Look at, she's here with us. Diane Russell's here with us. And Stephen Davidson. The pop is when people, I can't get rid of the pop. It's when people comment. I will learn how to do it, but I don't know how to do it right now. Torstein, Kim, hi, Jim. Oh, let's see. Jim says in 1990s, the Heartland Institute worked with the tobacco company Philip Morris to attempt to discredit the health risks of secondhand smoke and to lobby against smoking bans. Yeah, they're really just so wonderful, aren't they? But they've got the ear of a lot of people. I mean, their one video that I was looking at from their Madrid stuff has 46,000 views. What do I get? 300 to 500 views? What do any of our climate channels get? What does Paul Beckwith get? The most? 8,000 views? Stuart Scott? Come on. What do we have to do here? We're not in a losing battle, are we? Well, that's kind of rhetorical because maybe we've hit the tipping points. Yeah, she has popping. It's every time there is a comment. So I had a couple of little graphics I wanted to show you. I don't know, global warming, here's one of their attributes to them. Global warming is a greater threat to the American people than global terrorism, you say? Fine, then stop obstructing the hydraulic fracking process that is responsible for approximately half our natural gas production. Yeah, let's just keep burning it because they don't think anything's wrong with it. And this dude was one of the ones, his name is James Taylor. He is a lawyer thinking he's a scientist, and he does a lot of talks for the Heartland Institute. He's in Madrid right now. And let's turn that one off. Let's turn that one off. And I had another little one. These were just some, speak of the Spark of Freedom is a pro-fracking, pro-nuclear, and they oppose energy, renewable wind and energy, all that stuff. And they have a whole bunch of stuff, and they're related to the Heartland Institute. And finally, I have the Heartland Institute Global Warming Experts list contains vanishingly few researchers who consider themselves climate scientists and who regularly publish papers supporting their climate science views in reputable peer-reviewed journals, and not just energy and environment, because energy and environment. So you get the drift, guys. They are formidable opponents because they have money backing. They really do. And we have got to be cognizant that these people are out there. And whether or not you think we've passed the tipping points, whether or not you think that we are on the way down, that we are going, we still have to fight. We still, like XR's out there, like the Sunrise, fight. Greta Thunberg is fighting. She's a different kind of fighter. Hi, Fiesta Cranberry. It's nice to see you. Yeah, this is good. So I'm going to show you a couple of more videos because I'm not going to sicken you anymore. I'm going to show you a couple of more videos that are current. And let's go. Paul Beckwith and Peter Carter. And I have Peter Carter's book. He's from Canada. We'll go over that a little bit. All right, let's go.
To the North Pole. Now, what happens in a world
Very low.
where
Turn your
there's
volume
no
up.
sea ice? So we talk about the first event being a blue ocean event. You know, so maybe within 5 years we won't have any sea ice in September. And then, so anyway, think of what's going to be up there. The only cold area up there with no sea ice is obviously Greenland. The center of Greenland is 73 degrees north, latitude 73 degrees north. So it doesn't take a big stretch of the imagination to think, okay, when there's no sea ice in the Arctic at all, why would the jet streams continue to circulate about the North Pole? No, the center of cold is the center of Greenland, so the jet streams will circulate about Greenland, and therefore not only do the jet streams slow down and become wavier, but the entire nature of the jet streams will shift. They're going to be offset from the North Pole towards Greenland, bringing much more powerful ridges of cold down over North America, and completely, you know, the system is the circulation system of the, which is the atmosphere and the oceans, are basically going to be rewired. And this is a huge problem to all of humanity because we have to grow food. And it's going to completely change our ability to grow food in different regions. Regions where we could grow it before, we will no longer be able to grow it. In fact, many areas of the planet will start to become uninhabitable, basically. Now, we talk about uninhabitable regions on Earth. People think mostly of places like the Middle East, for example, where the Red Sea or something is approaching that 35 degrees Celsius temperature, and when it reaches that temperature, the weather conditions along the coast are 35 degrees Celsius or higher with 100% humidity, and this is a wet bulb temperature. This is the limit of human survival, so people won't be able to live outside or be outside for more than 6-8 hours before they get heat exhaustion and heat stroke. And
that's pretty heavy duty. That's Paul Beckwith. I'm going to put links up. And I have one more video. Paul Beckwith is in Canada, professor from Ottawa, and he has a great channel, and he is at COP with Peter Carter. But I'm going to show you one more video, and I did see a comment really quickly, and I know it was from Diane. Diane, I'm so happy you're here, and I know you have a question about how often this show comes on and at what time Pacific. Diane, before I show that last video, I just have to tell you, I don't schedule anything regular. I can't stick to a schedule. I try to be inspired, and then I come on and I'll put up when I'm going to be on, but I don't have a schedule because everybody knows I have a bad back. I'm very disabled in the spine, and I can barely do these about a half an hour, but it is my hobby, and I really have to communicate. So you just have to watch out for the channel, because I can't do a regular schedule, and I'm sorry for everybody. I wish I could, but I can't. But I'm here. So the last video I'm going to show you was from Peter Carter. It was in May, and it was one of the best presentations I've seen. And I'm going to link it, but I'm going to play a little clip from this, and then we'll do a little conversing. Nope, that's not the right one. We're going to do a little conversing, and that's not the Peter Carter one. And oh my goodness. Give me a second, and I'll look for the Peter Carter one, okay? You can watch me as I change the screen because I am not, it was So good. So I'm not gonna have you miss out on this one. So you watch as I change everything, and I will find the real truth about, I don't know where it went, about health. And it was Peter Carter, and it was fabulous. Up here it is. Okay. I probably now have to find where I had.
Is
Oh,
the
here it
safe
is.
level. And as you can see, this is carbon dioxide concentration from 1970. You can see unquestionably it's accelerating. This is the other big one. This is methane. Methane is very important, particularly because of the livestock meat industry, which is the big source, or one of the biggest sources of methane. Not the only one. Growing rice is actually another source of methane under global warming, because rice is grown in an artificial wetland, and with global warming, those artificial wetlands growing the rice are emitting more methane. So the 800,000-year limit of these greenhouse gases we know from the ice core. The 800,000-year limit for CO2 was 300 parts per million. It's now at 410. On methane, the limit of 1 million years is 800 parts per million. It's now 1,870 parts per million. This, my friends, is climate insanity. And this is going up extremely rapidly. So that's a little bit of the academic stuff. And yes, the issue today is the survival of humanity and most of life. That's what it is. This is a conference put on by the
So that's what it is. Basically, it is about life. It is about continuing life. And will it? We're in the 6th mass extinction. The 6th mass extinction. You think they're going to talk about that? No. The Heartland Institute just wants to continue business as usual, burning fossil fuels. They think AOC, they make fun of everybody. They make fun of AOC. They are paranoid. They think that we are, that because we want to steal the country. And they also have a whole diatribe against socialism as well. They think that this climate change hysteria is just a ruse to have the left wing take over, and even in other countries because of the right-leaning propaganda. So really, guys, you have to be cognizant that this stuff's going on. We do watch our, we stay in our echo chambers a lot, but you have to be cognizant of all of what these people are doing, because these people are communicating, and it's not just the Trump base or what you might think. This is impressionable people, and they're in Madrid. They may not have a lot of people in Madrid at their thing, but they have videos, and thousands of people are watching them all over the world. And I can tell you, actually, you want to, you know what? I'll look at some of, let's go back, and I'm going to look at a couple of the commenters on this one. And I think you guys know what we're up against. I know you do, but I want to see if the comments are here. I don't know what happened to the comments on this video, but they were good. And let's see. No, I guess I've lost the comments. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. But you can imagine, the comments. It's just insane. So I'm going to end with thanking you for coming and understanding that there's a world outside of just what, we follow and watch. And you have to know what they're saying, because the only way we can battle misinformation is to know what information is being spread. They cherry pick their data, and they show these slides that you know, to the people that are watching them that are, well, not exactly, I thought, accurate, but I'm not a scientist. I'm here making a commentary on what I see. All right. So, guys, Kent's here. Corporate monitors are watching. Hey, listen, I'm not saying anything controversial. The cause is irrelevant. Planning is the core. Well, we have to plan. We have to plan. Thank you, Fiesta. Believe me, I can pull it off. I think if you understood, sometimes my spine feels like I have sprained ankles all the way up and down to my neck, you'd understand. But I'm not the only one that suffers, you know. And I happen to be toasting you guys with a glass of wine tonight, which I very rarely do. Thank you for coming. And I am going to finish. And Chris, I'm going to finish with you saying, always a pleasure. And it's always a pleasure to be with you. And I'm really thrilled that Diane was here. And Going South is here, and Groot's here, and Miles here, and Copy Cooney's here. Everybody's here, and I love y'all. I really do. We have a good group tonight. Osama's here, Fiesta Kim, Hoople's Cat. Hoople's Cat from Canada. He's so cool, and he's got a great channel. You should check him out. Don't forget the Natural Progressive. All of the Going South, Climate Crush TV, FrozenEarth.com. 24-hour climate change, environmental, geopolitical videos. You can go there, and if you want, you don't have to go hunting on YouTube. You can just watch. It's in a beta test, but Torstein Vidal of Going South has it on his Frozen Earth. He's doing magnificent work, and he's doing it for us. He's doing it for the world, and he's trying to build something, so I support that. And so there you go. And you know what? I love you too. Good night. Peace.